Now that we have learned applying materials and setting up camera views, let's move on to rendering the views. In the bottom of the window next to the Visual Styles button we can see the sun icon, the shadow on or off icon and the render icon. Clicking on the sun icon opens the sun settings dialog. We can see that the sun setting window has 4 different options. The still option is for setting up real-time sun position and direction based on the location of our site. By clicking on the 3 dots next to the location we can set up the location of our site so that the sun settings can be specific to the selected location. The weather details and other site settings can also be set up. The single day and multiple day options are for analyzing the sun movement over a period of time. This option is helpful in designing climate-responsive buildings. As we are now setting up sunlight for rendering 3D views, let's select the lighting option. This sets up the sun relative to the view we have selected. Let's choose the sun from the left option. Because we did not specify a location, the sun path is not displayed and the icon shows the sun path is off. When the shadows button is in the off position, the shadows are not visible. When shadows are switched on, we can see that based on the sun position we set up, the shadows are shown. We can switch on or off the shadows based on how we want our rendered image to appear. The rendering dialog can also be accessed from the View tab from the ribbon. Clicking on the render opens the rendering window. In the rendering window there are the following options. The render button. Clicking on this button starts the rendering process. The render engine options. The render quality. The screen option uses the screen size as the size of the rendered image. For printing purposes, we can use the printer option. Lighting options. Background options. Image options. And display options. Now let's try a draft render by clicking on the render button. This opens the rendering progress window, which shows the duration and progress of the rendering and also shows if there are any warnings. As we can see, depending on the system you are working on, draft renders can be done very fast. This took a matter of around 15 seconds to complete. In the render quality option, we can change the quality from draft to best. Draft option provides a very fast render for us to check if everything in the view is correct. For print quality images at least, a medium quality is needed. Keep in mind that as the quality increases, the render time also increases. We can use a DPI of 300 to get high quality images. When we change the DPI, the file size also increases and this also affects the render time. The lighting scheme has a drop-down from which the type of lighting we need can be selected. Since this is an exterior rendering, we can choose the exterior, sun-only option. By combining sun path timing with exterior sun and artificial lights option, evening and nighttime renders can be created. There are also different interior lighting options for interior view rendering. The sun settings box shows the setting which we already set up. We can also change the sun setting using the button next to this box. The background has options to set up the sky background for the render. We can choose between different preset sky and cloud options, or we can select a color or image by clicking on these options. Let's try the image option. It opens a file browser from which image can be selected. I have not selected any image for now. The image option has settings to adjust the exposure and other settings of the rendered image. Now let us try rendering this view in the medium image quality setting. When we click the render button, the rendering process window opens. We can see that the rendering process happens square by square. I have shown the duration of the rendering process in real time. The duration of the rendering process also varies depending on system specifications. Keep in mind the time duration of the rendering process during your exams. The sky is rendering in black color because I selected the background image option, but I did not choose any image. This is useful if we are doing image post-processing in Photoshop and want to add different backgrounds. Now that the image has rendered, we can see the difference between a draft quality and a medium quality render. Here I have rendered the view in high quality with the sky settings selected to cloudy. Now we can see in detail the options under Image. By clicking the Exposure button, we can adjust the exposure and other image tone settings. However, these adjustments are easier to do in Photoshop or other image editing software after exporting the image. By clicking on the Save to Project button, we can save the rendered image to the Project tab. This gets saved in the project browser under Renderings. By clicking the Export option, we can save the image file of the rendering in File Explorer to our desired location. We can use the Render Region option to render only a selected region. This is useful when we want to see how a specific area renders. Let's try selecting this small shrub and see how the region renders. We can alter the selected area using the Region Transformation window to select exactly the specific area we require. Once the area is selected, we can click the Render button. We can see that only the selected region renders. This method is useful when we want to see how a certain area looks after rendering. Instead of wasting time in full renderings for seeing just a small change, we can use this method. We can use the Display option to alternate between showing the render and showing the 3D model. We can access the saved rendered image from the project browser under Renderings. Using these steps, we can create a rendering of an exterior 3D view. The same steps can be used to create renderings of any 3D view created in the project browser, including cut section views and isometric plan views. I hope all of you were able to understand the different steps in using materials, creating 3D views using cameras, and rendering the 3D views. Thank you.